Going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fight Out podcast. Today we're breaking down UFC 319 in a prediction show style. If you stick around to the end, you got a good accumulator that you can throw on for the weekend. Obviously, US time, us UK fans are going to struggle staying up, but to be fair, it's one hell of a card. So I'm actually going to start at the prelims for this. Before I dive in, please like, comment, subscribe. It really does, helps out with the channel and helps us to grow it. So starting off, we could start at the early prelims, to be honest, because the card is that good. But, I don't really want to do that and go too far into it. So kicking off the prelims, you've got Brian Battle against Ruzabov. Now, it's a good fight. I feel like I'm going to say that a lot throughout this card. But I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm just going to say I'm going to think Brian Battle is going to win to kick us off nicely for the bet. I think he's got a little bit too much. I think he's on a good run. I think he's actually a very good fighter. And I think he's going to get it done. Moving on, we've got Edson Barboza against Dricus Close. Edson's last fight against Lerone Murphy, obviously, he got beat. Dricus got beat in his last fight as well. I think Edson is not... I've seen people saying he's over the hill and stuff like that. I don't think that's the case. Like, obviously, his best days are behind him, but over the hill for me means you're on a slide. You're really struggling. You can't string wins together, stuff like that. I think Edson comes back on the win column here. He's a slight favourite as well. So UK matchmakers kind of in agreement with me. But yeah, I'm going Edson Barboza, and you know what? I'm going to go Edson Barboza by finish once the official odds come out. Moving on, we've got Chase Hooper against Alexander Hernandez. Alexander Hernandez famously once said he's going to send Cowboy Yeehaw and back to the fucking ranch or something like that. And to be fair, he's done absolutely zip in the sport since. He's just a win one, lose one, and he went on about a 4-5 fight losing streak. Not the biggest fan of him, to be fair. I think he's going to get absolutely rolled by Chase Hooper, Roman Kopylov Jr., as the kids like to say. I think Kopilov's on a good run of form. I think Chase Hooper's on a good run of form. He's fought quite a few, legends of the sport. He's fought Clay Guida, fought Jim Miller. He got a good win against Borshev. Obviously fought Jordan Levitt, not a legend of the sport, that kind of up and coming. Yeah, I like Chase. I like his odds as well, to be fair. He's 1-3. I thought he might be quite a very strong favourite here. But 1-3, nice odds. And I think he gets it done. Moving through the card next, we've got Jessica Andrade against Lupi Godinez. I mean, with this is one of them fights where it's, you kind of want to pick the veteran in Jessica Andrade. She's obviously on a couple of fight losing skid, but it's quite hard to pick against Lupita Godinez, in my opinion, in this fight. It's going to be close on the odds, but I just can't see Jessica Andrade getting it done. I've seen a few prediction shows and stuff like that. I've seen people tipping Jessica Andrade to get it done. I mean, me personally, I can't see it. I don't think it's going to be the best of fights as well, if I'm honest. I'll probably leave it off the actual accumulator, but I'll put the odds in for now and see what this comes out as. We've got quite a tasty one, to be fair. If we go through every single fight on the prelims and main card, it's decent. By the way, last week, I know we didn't end up getting the video up, but we predicted quite a few of them underdog upsets. Chris Duncan getting the win, Neil Magny getting the win and stuff like that. Obviously, I've got no proof to be putting here. I actually recorded the video, just there was something wrong with the file. I couldn't end up getting it up and didn't have enough time to re-record. But yeah, follow us in on some of these underdog predictions, because by no means, we experts or anything, but it's usually we're quite on the money when it comes to the kind of underdog prediction. So yeah, I'm going Lupita Godinez. She is not underdog for the record, but we're going to win. Next on the card, we've got a fight that no one really knows much about, let's be honest. We've got Eric Nolan against Suzakayev. Eric Nolan 8-3, Suzakayev 9-0. I don't think bookmakers or anything like that know much about this fight. In fact, it's not even on the UK bookmakers in terms of predicting it. Is this still on the card? Has it been removed? As far as I can see, it's still on the card. Okay. I mean, that one's anyone's guess, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to do it injustice by even attempting to talk about it, because I don't know much about either. Moving on to the next fight, we've got Mikhail Alexeychuk, one of the funnest names in MMA to ever say in person. It's it's definitely a mouthful, definitely fun to say. Yeah, I think Alexeychuk gets this done. Wow, he's actually a big. I didn't expect it to be that big of a favourite, to be honest with you. He's 4-9, which is basically 1-2. It's actually slightly less than 1-2. I didn't expect him to be that big of a favourite, but yeah, I do think he gets it done. I think Mikhail Alexeychuk is I don't get me wrong, I think Meerschaft is as well, especially with some of the upset wins he's had. I think Alexeychuk's a very good fighter. He had a terrible run when he lost to Mikael Pereira, Kevin Holland, and then he lost to Shara Bullet. He's also lost to Kyle Bahayo. Now, all of those losses have aged quite well, to be honest. I'm they're not bad losses. I think he needs a big win. And Gerald Meerschaert, while he's not, he's not the biggest name in MMA, but he is still a name, on a resume. Gerald Meerschaert is he got the win against Shabazi, and then he lost to Renier de Ridder. Then he lost to Brad Tavares, sorry. And he's win two, lose two. He's probably due a win, but I don't want it to come at the expense of Mikhail. So go on Mikhail Alexeychuk to win here. Finally, on the prelims, we've got King Green against Diego Ferreira. Now, for me, this is a bit of an interesting one. I think the odds will be close. Let's have a look. Yeah, the odds are quite close. It's 6-5 to 4-6. So King Green, obviously, we know that he's kind of a win one, lose one kind of guy as well nowadays. Diego Ferreira was on a decent little run. He strung together a couple of wins. He beat Michael Johnson. He beat Rebecca, that Chris Duncan's just beat last weekend. And he lost to Grant Dawson, who, I think Grant's a good fighter. Before that, he was a little bit, hit and miss though, but he's got wins over Anthony Pettis way back when Poirier fought Connor, lost to Gamrot. It's quite a tough one to call, to be honest, if you're going off form. If you're going off gut, I'm going to go with Pereira, who is a slight favourite. But because the odds are so close and because Green's not a favourite, it kind of makes me want to go with him. But like I said, gut feeling, I'm going to go with Diego Ferreira here. And then this gets us into the main card. Now, kicking off the main card is Tim Elliott against Kai Asakura. Now, I've seen all of my videos of Tim Elliott and stuff. He's been a little bit hit and miss in the UFC, to be fair. He's been in the UFC for a while. It's kind of a win one, lose one, win two, lose three, that kind of, well, maybe lose two. He's never actually lost three on the run, I don't think. But he is a gritty fighter. Now, obviously, Kai Asakura's come into the UFC and he's fought the champ, Alejandro Pantoja. And I remember making the video on Kai, and I've learned a bit more about him since then. And I'm saying, look, if you're coming in at this level and you're fighting the champ right away, the UFC are doing that, they're putting you in that position for a reason. You must be a good high-level fighter. And that is definitely the case. Now, I think Tim Elliott's actually I know this is going to sound a bit mad, but I think Tim Elliott's quite a big test because of how gritty he is. Kai Asakura is a big favourite, though. He's a 1-3 favourite, and I would have went with him anyway. But obviously, the odds have definitely solidified the choice. I'm going to go Kai Asakura 1-3 on. Now, next on the card, we've got Jared Cannonier against Michael Venom Page. Now, Michael Venom Page in the UFC's had a tough run. Obviously, he got the win over Kevin Holland. He got beat by Mercado Gary. He won against Shara Bullet after it. But they're some big fights, and he's only lost to Gary. He's got Kevin Holland, Ian Gary, and Shara Bullet. And if you said to me he's going to get beat by one of them, I would have said Shara Bullet, to be honest with you, but it was Ian Gary, so that's credit to Ian Gary. But they're three big names. Kevin Holland on UFC debut is a big name. Mercado Gary, the fight was close as well, by the way. He only just lost it. I think Mercado Gary did win, but it was kind of like a 2-1 kind of situation. I think he's coming back here in a big way, to be honest, against Cannonier. I think even though he came to UFC too late MVP, in my opinion, to make a real run, he is top level. He is still top level. Cannonier got a good win against RoboCop. Before that, he fought, it was Kyle Bahayo, and he got beat by Bahayo, and then I think he fought Marvin Vettori before that. Again, he's kind of like win one, lose one, win one. But yeah, I think Cannonier is a good level fighter, but I think MVP is going to have too much for him. And contrary to popular belief, I actually think MVP could get a finish here with something a little bit spectacular. I think Cannonier is that kind of style where it allows that to happen. I'm going to go MVP by a nice finish. Next on the card is one of my favourite fighters at the minute, which is Carlos Prates against Jeff Neal. So obviously Prates' most recent fight got beat by Ian Garry, which again, it's good level of competition, really good level of competition. Ian Garry has obviously also beat Jeff Neal as well. Jeff Neal's fought everyone, man. He's fought the who's who. He's been through murderers row after murderers row. He's got some wins in there. He's beat Mike Perry way back when. He's got a win over Bilal Muhammad even way back when. It's quite an interesting one. I always expect Jeff Neal to have more fights than he has as well. He's 16-6. I always expect him to have had like 35 fights or something like that. It is mad when you actually look at his record. Yeah, most recent win, Rafael dos Anjos. I think Carlos Prates gets back in the win column here. I think Carlos Prates has got all the potential to get to a world title fight and maybe even win it. He's looked good in the UFC. He's looked really good with who he's fought. He's beat Magny. He's only lost to Ian Garry, which, like I said, there's no shame in doing that at all. Ian Garry's top of the food chain at welterweight. Carlos Prates being 2-5 though is not what I'm a fan of. Jeff Neal being 15-8 is the kind of odds that I like to look at sometimes, but I do fancy Carlos Prates, so there's no point just going against him just because the odds aren't in his favour, especially when we've got a couple of underdogs coming up that I think are going to get the win. So yeah, I'm going Carlos Prates. Now, co-main events, late change, Lerone Murphy against Aaron Pico. Obviously, I know Lerone Murphy now, not just in the UK, is renowned as a really good fighter. But the UK odds makers have got him as quite a big underdog. He's an 11-8 dog against the 4-7 favourite in Aaron Pico. Now, I know Aaron Pico is coming in here with a big name. He's on a 3-fight winning streak anyway. Before that, he was on about a 5 or 6 fight winning streak, I think. He's a very high level fighter, but to come in against the unbeaten prospect in Lerone Murphy and for him to be such a big favourite in my mind is bizarre. There's different levels of competition here. Let's call it what it is. The UFC is the creme de la creme. And okay, sometimes in the UFC you can have people that are there for the entertainment value and stuff like that. Lerone Murphy's not one of them. If any, and he's the opposite. He's not exactly a big name, and that's probably because of he's not a big talker. Talent-wise, he's right up there, 16-0. Unbeaten, really on a good run. Got a win over Josh Emmett, Dan Ige, Edson Barbosa, Josh Kulabau. Big wins, fights often. And when he fights, it's high level. I think he's going to get it done as a big underdog here. And I think after that, come on, man, you've got to give him that title shot. Because let's be honest, if Pico wins, he's in that title picture right away. Lerone Murphy gets a win. What's he got to do? What's my man got to do to get a title shot? I think he's going to win. I think he's going to look good. I think he's going to show Aaron Pico that there's levels to UFC. I'm not saying Aaron Pico's not on UFC level, by the way. I'm just saying for his first fight, Lerone Murphy is a lot to bite off. That gets us, obviously, to the main attraction, the main event, Dricus Du Plessis against Khamzat Chimaev. Now, we made a podcast about doubting DDP and how foolish you are to do it. And I said, I'll never doubt him again. And I've been doubting him. I've been doubting him the whole time, and all of the build-up, I've been thinking that Khamzat he's a problem. He's a big, big problem. The issue that I've got is, on paper, Khamzat Chimaev beats Dricus Du Plessis. He's got better striking, he's got better wrestling, he's got better jiu-jitsu, he's got a better gas tank. Well, sorry, his gas tank is the only questionable one. But like DDP says, he can't read. He scribbles up the paper and throws it out. He hasn't got a pen. He can't write. It doesn't work like this. This MMA math, when it comes to Dricus Du Plessis, doesn't make sense. You've got some of the best minds in the sport. You've got Tom Aspinall on his breakdown saying that DDP doesn't make sense. He can't get his head around how he fights. If that's not enough to say how tough a puzzle he is to solve, then I don't know what is. Now, Khamzat has got the if factor. Khamzat has got the potential to take anybody down. And when you're down on the floor with him, it's a world of trouble. He's a berserker. It's not nowhere near the same level. No disrespect to him about because I really love this guy. I've actually spoke to him in person. He's such a nice guy. Well, on Instagram and stuff like that. But Paddy Houlihan, when McGregor was on his rise, they used to call Paddy the berserker because he runs in there first and just fucks shit up. Basically, just gets the party going, just hurts people, stuff like that. Khamzat's like that. He just legs it out. Well, usually for his walkout, he legs it out. The second the fight starts, he runs across to the side of the cage, he dives in with a double leg. Sometimes he'll fake a jab or something like that, but he is a berserker. And it's a tough problem to solve, some with that intensity. We see him going to later rounds with Usman. Obviously, when I say later, that was still a 3-round fight. He did slow down a little bit. He looked a little bit more human. But don't forget, Usman is a tough pot, like that. That win, in my opinion, is not thought of in such a high regard because it looked close. But a win over Kamaru Usman is no mean feat. He's a really high level guy. And at that time, it was Usman not cutting weight. He was, well, yeah, he didn't. In fact, no, yeah, he didn't cut weight. He was fighting, obviously, at middleweight. And it was a big win. And then he's just dismantled Robert Whittaker, literally pulled his teeth out with a choke. He is creme de la creme. The problem is that I've got in my mind is every time I doubt Dricus Du Plessis, he gets the job done. And Dricus Du Plessis, by the way, bearing in mind he's the champion, bearing in mind he's coming in with wins over Sean Strickland twice. Is he? Obviously, he beat Whittaker as well. Beat Derek Brunson, he beat Dan Till, he beat Zad Tavares. He's beat a lot of people, and he's been active as well in doing it. Khamzat is unbeaten. He's 14-0. Dricus is 23-2, obviously. But Khamzat doesn't fight regularly enough. He fights once a year. When he first came into the UFC, he was like lightning in a bottle. He obviously fought on famously on Fight Island and stuff. But I think the inactivity could also play a part in terms of experience. Dricus Du Plessis has definitely been more active the last few years. And I'm finding it very hard to doubt Dricus, sorry. I think Dricus gets it done. I think it grinds out to a 5-round war. I think Khamzat takes round 1, round 2. I think Dricus probably comes into it in round 3, takes over a little bit. I think Khamzat rallies back. Round 4 is quite close. I think Dricus wins round 5, and then it's going to be one of them where it's like, oof, who won? It's not a robbery either way. It's a close fight. I really do think that'll happen. And I think it's going to be Dricus Du Plessis by split decision. And that's how I think it's going to go down. Now, if you follow me in on every single one of them picks, you're a madman. But it's an 11-fold, and it's 292-1. Now, I'm going to give, like I said, if you're hanging on till the end, there'll be a good accumulator. I'm going to give a solid accumulator here that I think people can follow in on. I'm going to go Dricus Du Plessis. I'm going to go Lerone Murphy. I'm going to go Michael Page. I'm going to avoid those fights. I'm going to go Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. I am going to go Chase Hooper. And that was what I intended to do. What does that come out as? That is a 6-fold, and it comes out to 27-1. So I think that's a solid bet. So just to run back through it, it's Chase Hooper to win. It's Mikhail Oleksiejczuk to win. It's Michael Venom Page to win. It's Carlos Prates to win. It's Lerone Murphy to win, and it's Dricus Du Plessis to win. 2 underdogs in the main and co-main. Let's get it done. Thank you, everyone, if you stuck around to the end of this video. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know down below if you think I'm chatting absolute nonsense. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Usually when we put a Dricus video up, we get a load of South Africans in the comment section. And I love it. Let me know down there what you think. Do you think this is a big ask for him? Think the belt's coming back to South Africa again? Let me know. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.